Nathaniel.
No, so you make three specific arguments for the existence of God. A creative argument, an argument for design, and an argument for morality. I, first off, would like to try and take down the argument on morality.
Go ahead.
Because it's not actually an argument for the existence of a God, it's the argument for the fact that we should have an idea of an existence of a God. Because otherwise there would be no moral basis from which we could sit on. And I disagree with that because I feel that humans are inherently altruistic and moral.
Okay, all right, stop there for just a second, Nathaniel. What do you mean by altruistic and moral?
We are giving and we care about each other.
Why is that good?
Why is that good? Because it helps our species survive.
Why is it good to survive?
Because then we can propagate and move on as a species and continue to exist.
So why is that a good thing? Who said?
Why is that a good thing?
Yeah.
Because that is what it is.
Well, that's an is. That's not an ought, though. Stalin would say, fine, Nathaniel, I'm going to survive by killing you and taking your stuff. Why is he wrong?
Because Stalin would have the initial urge not to. He would feel that the inherent urge of humans is to be caring for one another. There are situations where humans will not be caring about one another, and those are exceptional. But because humans are inherently altruistic, his first urge would be to take care of the person or try and help them. But if he has some motivation against that, then he would no longer have that urge, and he would decide that he wants to kill them because he has a reason to.
Well, again, I think you're begging the question as to what altruism is. Why is taking care of others a good thing if there is no God? That's your opinion. Is there an external referent, an authoritative, unchanging referent that you're getting that opinion from, which makes it objective, or is it just something you feel?
Humans, so if you take it from the stance that this is something that is consistent throughout humanity, that we care about one another, then we could superpose that as a moral impulse that we have.
Okay, let me agree with you. I think we do have a moral impulse. And that's exactly what C.S. Lewis said in The Abolition of Man, when he looked at all the diverse cultures and he said, they agree on basic morality. Now, how do you explain that basic morality? Well, there's maybe different ways to explain it, but some will say that's because God has written it on our hearts. But the issue isn't how we know it. The issue is, why is altruism, as you put it, or caring for one another, a good thing? Who said?
It's not necessarily who said, it is what is. We are altruistic. There is no need for someone to say that it is a good thing. It is what we are.
But if Hitler or Stalin comes along and says, I don't want to be altruistic, I want to be selfish and take everything for myself, and if I have to kill you to do that, I'm going to do that, why is that objectively wrong?
Because he is not taking care of other people.
Who said it's... Where are you getting this standard this objective standard that you ought to take care of people? Where does that come from if there's no God?
So I'm just going to talk about a little example that I know of and some others. So there's three different points I'd like to make. First off, we still exist.
Just skip the subject.
If we did not take care of each other as a social species, we would have very, very limited capabilities of still existing. We need to band together. We need to take care of each other. We need to be friendly to one another.
That's presupposing that survival is a good thing. Why is it a good thing? And why us surviving? Why not roaches? Or antelope? Or black widow spiders?
Why do you need the concept of good there? We're still surviving, and we're being nice, kind to each other. We're being caring for one another.
Forgive me, Nathaniel, but you're stealing the standard of goodness from God's universe to try and make your worldview work. But if there is no objective, authoritative moral standard beyond us, then atheism doesn't work.
You know, I think you're right. There is something to that. The idea of good and evil is in a lot of ways a religious concept. But why do we need that?
Well, it depends on what you mean by religion. I'm just talking, we can leave religion out of it, it's a loaded term. Let's just say the source, ontologically, which means the study of being. Where does morality come from? Are you an atheist?
Yes.
Okay, are you a materialist?
No.
I can
Okay,
look at it and
so
tell
you believe in immaterial reality, that's good. How do
They
you
all have
explain
that book
immaterial
about-
reality if there is no God?
Could you define immaterial reality?
Oh, let's just take the laws of morality. It's right to take care of people. It's right to love. It's
Never mind. I'm not even gonna say.
wrong to murder. Where does that come from?
That's something that is ingrained in us in our behaviors.
That's how we know it. And let me agree with you that maybe there are different ways we can come to know it. If evolution is true, maybe evolution has helped bring it to us. Maybe our parents taught it to us. Maybe society taught it to us. However, my question isn't how we know it. My question is, why is it right to love and wrong to murder objectively? Because, you know, we went to the Nazis and they said, oh, we're just obeying our government. And we said, you had a higher obligation to obey the good rather than your government, and you failed, so you're guilty. So where does this higher standard come? Where does it come from? What is it ontologically?
So, to some extent, this is an interpretation of, and I'm probably going to screw this up, but this is an interpretation of why we exist. And so we come from a long lineage of life, and so in order to honor that, we must continue to live. And so to be kind is to honor that life that we have. And life is all that we have.
Okay, I agree with what you're saying here, but you're importing terms, moral terms like honor and good, into an atheistic system that has no way to ground those moral terms. That's my point. Let me ask you another question. I'm going to ask you the question I said I would ask you. If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian?
Yes.
Great. If I give you a book, would you read it?
I'm a busy person. But if you give it to me, I would take a look.
You'll take a look. If you read it, I'll give it to you. It doesn't seem like you're that interested in it.
If you give me your email, I'll tell you that I read it.
You'll tell me what?
I'll tell you that what I read about and what I thought about it.
Oh, that's fine. I'll give you my email, as long as you read it.
All right.
All right, done. See me later. Thank you.
Atheists, this is Leroy Cruz, Life Applications Officer, by the way. Atheists are getting more and more religious every day. I mean, this guy walked up. I knew he was an atheist. I could look at him and tell that he was an atheist. He had that slash thinking about stuff that's just typical too much to I could put on a dress in 5 minutes to I must have had to go to college and get a degree, because what else am I going to do with my life? Like, I'm not going to go out there and do a regular job. I need to go to college so I can do a job where I don't get my hands dirty. You know, they just all got that look about themselves. You know. But Frank Turek, I'm not really impressed with Frank Turek. Frank Turek, I love some things he says. Some things he says, I think that he is making it harder to get his point across. You know what I'm saying? He just makes it difficult. But, you know, I like some things he says. I really don't agree with his book. Now, I haven't read the book. I just don't like the title. It takes faith to be an atheist, or I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. That's got to be the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. That's like somebody saying, I don't have enough facial hair, okay, to get a girlfriend. Or I don't play enough PlayStation games, okay, to know anything about computers. You know, that's just me, okay? But an atheist in the next video said he did read his book. He talked to him about some of the things in his book. Okay? And I'm gonna turn this off and let it play. He talked about some of the things in his book on one of his other videos, or on this video here that's rolling. He talks about, one of the guys tells him, I've read your book, I'd like to talk to you about some of the things in your book. But we're talking about the subject of the morality of God. The morality of God, you must understand, and I'll read verses maybe in the next, if I don't do it in this one, I'll read verses in the next part 2 of this, but I know I'm going to have to do a part 2. But first of all, the Ten Commandments were written for the Jews. They weren't written for Christians. Okay? And people in the Old Testament didn't follow the Ten Commandments any more perfectly than we do today in modern time. However, the Ten Commandments were given to Moses by God. Moses didn't make them up. By Moses' time, there was other civilizations that made laws, okay, to run their communities. But the Ten Commandments is what separated the people of Israel from the rest of the world. And not only the Ten Commandments, but there's more laws than the Ten Commandments. To get a complete description of all the laws that were given to Moses, and the laws that Moses gave to the Christian people, that we today in the New Testament, we look up to both the laws that were given to Moses by God and the laws that Moses gave to the people to keep the people in line. It all comes from God, because God and Moses had it like that. Okay, they had it like that. Couple of illustrations here. I'm going to show you in real time, in everyday life, how, Christians, they try to, like these apologists like Frank Turek and different ones, they try to tell you as an atheist how God is moral and how God is God's form of morality beats the morality that coexists among humans. Now, let me first of all say that God's standard of morality is for His people. So, when we become Christians, we are stepping away from the morality that we understand is moral and good. We're stepping away from that to the supreme shadow of morality, which makes us supreme beings. Let me say that again. When we leave the world and we come into the kingdom of God and we begin to practice His standard of righteousness, our standard of righteousness becomes higher and supreme above the righteousness, the morals, the integrities of the people of the world. Okay? For example, preacher has a beautiful daughter. His daughter goes to a public school. She's getting ready to go into the 9th grade. And just like when my girls were growing up, they went to a public school and they wanted to be like the girls in school. The girls in school chasing boys and being chased by boys and wearing the skimpy clothes, you know, skirts all the way up, tight shorts, tight spandex, whatever. Couldn't wait to grow a set of breasts before they started exposing them. You know what I'm saying? And I remember a friend of mine when I was a supervisor at the YMCA. I remember a friend of mine who had this, you know, I can say that on this channel, but she had this tight daughter. She was tight from head to toe. Now, women might not know what I mean when I say tight, but the guys know what I'm talking about. She was tight from head to toe, okay? I mean, she was just straight up tight, okay? Everything about her was just tight, okay? Her own mother said the most immoral thing that I ever heard any mother. Now, I used to joke around with her mother because we're adults, you know, and at that time I was like checking her out, even though I know that I should only date Christians. I was checking out this girl's mother. Until her mother said this right here. But I was checking out her mother one day, and her mother got offended with me because I told her one day, because she was talking about me going somewhere with her, and I made a sexy comment about, you know, her wearing a bikini, okay, because she wanted me to go someplace with her that was at like some kind of water park or resort or whatever, and I told her I'm not a water freak, but you in a bikini, I was flirting with her, okay? And she got a little bit offended that I said that. And I don't know if she got offended because she thought that she had a complex about what she looks like in a bikini, or if she thought I was being too much of a sexual pervert. I don't know, but after she told me this, I would say she had a low self-esteem about what she looked like in a bikini. But me being a guy where we, you know, we undress women with our eyes, I knew that, I know she looks good in a bikini, okay? But it was a day later or that, after that event, where me and her were joking about her wearing a bikini, that she was talking to somebody about her daughter, and I happened to walk up, and I was just eavesdropping on a conversation because I had some things to do there at the desk. And she says, after the other lady left, she says to me, she says, I worry about my daughter. And I says, well, you know, and me and her both, like, at that time, my girls and her daughter, she had a little boy and a teenage daughter. I had two daughters that went to school with her daughter. My daughters were an age apart, a year apart, and they were all headed for middle school. Okay, but the little boy was getting ready to. They were all hitting, they were all hitting high school, and the little boy was getting ready to hit middle school. So she says to me, she's talking about her daughter, and she says, well, I got on my daughter about her dress apparel and stuff, we had a debate. We had to talk about it. And I says, yeah, your daughter dresses very tight. She knew what I meant. She says, yeah. She says, but you know what I've been thinking? You know, and she wasn't talking about her daughter's attitude, too. She says, you know what? I've been thinking. If I looked like her, I would probably dress like that, too. And if I looked like her, I would probably act like her, too. So, the mom is taking lessons from her daughter. And her mom is exposing herself that she is naive and immature about women, young girls in school and in the workplace. Because the morality of God, the morality of the world, at least I thought it was not about being immodest and calling it good, or being immodest and calling it the way of the world, the way we're supposed to do it. Okay? And as she was telling me this, I really felt bad that I ever teased her about me seeing her in a bikini. Because I realized that her mindset, okay, I'm having adult conversations with her, but she's a disciple of her own daughter, whom she lacks the ability to control. The preacher has a beautiful daughter. Tells his daughter, he asks her, where are you going? Dressed like that. Well, I'm going with my friend. We're going to a party. Dad already knows that he's a Christian. Christians don't go to parties. The definition of a party for a Christian is different than the definition of a party for a kid that's not growing up in a Christian home. So he started talking to his daughter about, well, at least come in the house and change clothes. No, Dad. And they get in an argument about it. Mom has to come out and ask Dad to calm down. She sends Dad back in the house. Mom calms the daughter down and says, sweetheart, you know what you've been taught. You know all we do, we just love you. We just want to protect you. Please be careful. Have fun at the party, but please be careful. But this daughter, she is the preacher's daughter. She's in a youth group where they party all the time. They just don't party the way people in the world party. They don't get their party tips off of Beyonce and Jay-Z. There ain't going to be no tip drill songs played at a Christian party. There ain't going to be like no music that says, it's getting hot in here. Take off all your clothes. There ain't going to be no songs played like that at a Christian party. There's a total difference in what we call a party and what the secular world calls a party. So, but the girl is young. She's young. She's a young child, a young girl, and you know what I mean? She's thinking that the boys in school, you know what I mean, aren't paying her enough attention. But she's going to find out years later that Christians don't date secular. They don't date outside the church anyway. But because she's going to a secular school, then she feels that she needs the boys of the secular school, because there's not enough Christians there. Okay? She needs the boys at the secular school to like her and be her friends, even if it means that they want to be her friends because they like the way she looks. So she goes to the party with her girlfriend, who's not a Christian. And the guys immediately start letting her know, girl, I didn't think you had it in you. What's going on, girl? You looking good. Ooh, girl, you looking good. The next thing you know, the party gets started. The drinks come out. Wait a minute, we're old enough to drink? Party comes out. Drinks come out. Somebody back here smoking marijuana. Okay? It's going on. And the girls getting in the middle. They dancing, and the guys getting around. They bumping and grinding with that. Shake it, baby. Shake it, baby. Show me what you're working with. Show me what you're working with. You know, they getting it on. And the Christian girl, she ain't used to going to these kind of parties. So she's starting to feel kind of out of place. So she decides to go hide somewhere and not make herself look so inadequate. She goes over here, and this guy starts whispering stuff into her ear, and, hey, baby, you want to get out of here and do something. Do something like what? What you want to do? You know, hey, you want another drink? Hey, you want to do this? Hey, I got some weed, you know. You know what I'm saying? You know, typical thing that we worry about our kids getting into when they go out to a party at a young age. I remember when my daughters were, and I did it, and my daughters got mad at me because I got at the party early. I made sure that when they went to the party that I had a talk with their parents, and I made sure that the parents were at the party with my daughters, that this wasn't a party where people were having a party with no adults supervising. I made sure that I dropped my daughters off so I could get a look at what this party is all about, and I picked them up. My daughters used to get mad when I got there early. I said, I'm just sitting in the car. Calm down. Go back and enjoy yourself. I'm just sitting in the car, you know. But the party got kind of rowdy, got kind of wild. Preacher's daughter told her girlfriend, I want to leave because the guys in the party were just starting to act like perverts. And she said, oh, come on, we only got a couple more hours left. Can't you do something with yourself for a couple hours? Next thing you know, they trying to pull girlfriend over here, and she's turning this down, but she's saying, okay, I'll do this. Make a long story short, pretty soon, disaster happens. Some people snuck out of the party. Things start to get quiet. The police get called. Detective Vincent and Detective Elliott and Ice-T show up at the party. and they go to talking about a rape kit, asking questions, who did this to you? Okay. 2 girls will be shattered for the rest of their lives because somebody didn't listen to her parents. And one didn't want to leave when things got rowdy. She didn't want to leave. But she wanted the attention that can only be given when we step away from what is true and right. You want attention. It's like that video. I did a video on Ari Spears, where Ari Spears, in order for him to become one of the world's best comedians, best black comedians, Ari Spears, when he was barely in high school, he stripped on stage in front of a bunch of teenagers, as well as a bunch of older women that should have been chaperoning this. They were getting turned on by it with the young teenage girls. But you ask Ari Spears, is he a moral person? Of course he is. He's not a rapist. He don't shoot nobody. But he's a moral person, even though he did what he did. Now, the preacher has to not only watch his daughter live a life coming up that she wasn't meant to live. I imagine she might have became an atheist. Okay, I don't know. But as Christians, we would have never ever let our daughters or our children, period, do certain things because we know the implications that can happen when you cross the line. We know where the line is. We know where the line is. Okay? And when I was in church camp, we didn't even practice swimming with the girls. And I remember the guys on the bus, we would let the girls swim first. And then we would go back to the campground and pick up the guys. The guys, all these guys, go to church. They're in this camp because they go to church somewhere, okay? They're standing up in the bus trying to look over this wall and see if they recognize any of the girls from camp, which one has the hottest bodies, okay? And there were some of us that just sat there like, ain't we supposed to be in church camp? Like, what's the point in separating the boys and the girls if all we're going to do is try to like take sneak peeks? And there were guys that when we got there, they would try to run into the parlor where the girls were leaving the pool to get in. And you know what? There were times when it was we got a big laugh because if a girl was late leaving the pool, she had to come out to the lobby and go around to get into the main shower area. And so 100 male students 100-mil camper seeing this one precious little thing come out there going, oh, excuse me, and she, and most of these girls didn't wear bikinis, they wore bathing suits. Now, to me, that's nothing to be ashamed about, but the thing is, them wearing even bathing suits, because them growing up in a Christian home where we don't practice, unisex swimming, we practice the boys swim separately from the girls, and we, and that's the way it is. So girls are very shy and very, very innocent about being seen with their naked hips showing, because they're not used to that, and I believe there's something good about that, okay? Here's another illustration that'll hit home on closing. I watched a video before I watched these couple of Frank Turk videos. I watched a video, Keeping Up with John Jones on the MMA. Now, I've done a video about how I feel about MMA, but I do watch MMA. I watch certain MMA stars fight. One thing that's always troubled me about MMA is that you're allowed to do certain things to win. Okay? And if you knock your opponent on the ground, you're allowed to do certain things to him or her on the ground, but he cannot do it back to you because you're already on the ground. He's not allowed to do it, okay? Because, if somebody got me down on the ground and they're hurting me, okay, I'm going to do certain things to get him off of me. But once they get you down on the ground, you can't, grab them by the throat. Anytime I've been in a fight, a guy got me down on the ground one time, and I sucked the air out of him. I grabbed him by the nose. Okay? He couldn't breathe. Another time a guy got me down on the ground, I grabbed his throat. And then I rolled over on top of him. You can't do that in MMA. So John Jones, he goes after the guy's feet. He goes after him really, really hard. He fought Belfort. 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 He went after him in the first round, and he got him down, and he elbowed him in the face. Now, these gloves are put on their hands so that they're not as dangerous a blow when you get hit in the face, and they also wear a mouthpiece. But when someone's hitting you with the elbow, common sense tells us that this here position is not as bad as this position. If you can hit somebody in the elbow, and you don't know how many fights I've won using my elbow. Okay? First time I hit somebody in the face with my elbow, the fight was just about over. Okay? John Jones knew what he was doing, and he came in and he kept hitting the guy in the face with the elbow. The guy started bleeding very, very easily. The floor got bloody. It just got bloody. And I know a Christian that believes in taking kids, young boys, to see an MMA fight. Giving them tickets to go see an MMA fight when they go to these public schools where they're being bullied all the time. What you need to be teaching these kids is you need to be taking them for some free karate lessons or some free self-defense lessons. Okay? Because too many people are learning MMA. Okay? And there are people in the military coming out of the military with all these honors, and they become terrorists. There's cops who are using their skills that they learned in the police academy and beyond as a way to hurt and harm innocent suspects. How many of these MMA fighters have been arrested for using the same amount of deadly force that they use in the ring on their female victim whom they raped? But MMA, God forbid, or should I say the secular world forbid, that I shall ever say anything about MMA or the people that practice MMA. God forbid that I should ever attack martial arts in any way and what martial arts mean to suspects. Because see, you can practice all the Buddhism and yoga, okay, and practice karma all you want to. There is a secular, immoral, criminal side to everything. I know people that you can't drink around them because for every drink that you drink, they're going to drink 3. For every bottle of beer that you finish, they're going to drink 3 bottles. So if you drink 2 bottles, they're going to drink 6. I know for every person out here that owns a gun and is well trained in marksmanship to know how to use his gun, he's got a friend who will not leave that gun at home but take that gun to work with him against the company's policies. He will take that gun everywhere with him. You got people out there that own guns and they have temper problems. I haven't even gone to scripture yet. But the morality of God is no joke. No joke. The Bible says, do not do anything that would make your brother stumble. So, if I eat too much sweets and I only weigh 100 and some pounds, I don't need to be doing that in front of somebody that weighs 300 pounds. She didn't get there, okay, by not eating no sweets. She didn't get there because she was on a diet. She got there because of people like me eating these sweets around her, and then she does the same thing. But anyway, I'll do a part 2 of this. It's very clear to me that God's standard of morality is higher than man's standard of morality. I would have to be crazy in order to really explain to you God's standard of morality. I would have to be crazy to fulfill it. But the fact is that it is higher. And there is no argument for that. And I'll throw the scriptures in the next video. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed night. D. Roy Cruz here, your Life Applications Officer. Thanks.